Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you tonight with Justice and Commerce Department's announcement of creation of Disruptive Technology Strike Force. And basically what we're talking about is all this technology that we've got today that's disrupting our lives. Not just in relations to cybersecurity, but the psychological elements of what this metaverse does and stuff. And what we're going to look at is this document that they put out and the verbiage on the document as it relates to our research and trying to correct everything. So I want you to pay attention to a lot of the different words and terms they're going to be using as, again, it relates to our actual contracting and trusts and all that in the commercial center. So first one we're going to look at is the etymology of access. And if you remember, Mom's the one that fills out an original document that gives them access because she gave them information to access. So we're going to start out with access, noun. An attack of fever, early 14th century. An attack of fever. From Old French, access, onslaught, attack, onset, as set, onset, set, on, to place, on, to place. That's the as set. And it was as set. It was set as a spell of illness. When you were born, there was an enumeration at birth, and that was enumerated at the hospital where Mom went through labor pains and you were born. That illness is the record during the inpatient hospital treatment that was provided for Mom and the baby on their first day, known as a spell of illness, literally defined as a spell of illness. From Latin, accessus, a coming to. You came forth, you came into the world, you came to the world. An approach, way of approach, entrance, and that was the entrance into the record. It wasn't known that you were entered the world, you entered the record. Noun use of past participle of accedere, to approach, from assimilated form of add, to. See add, accedere, go, move, withdraw. Remember we talked about drawing rights and the special or the general deposit, and things were drawn up and generally deposited. You have the right to withdraw it and reassign it for a special deposit. From pi root KED, to go, yield. Mom yielded information that gave them access. The English sense of an entrance is directly from Latin. The meaning, habit or power of getting into the presence of someone or something. You got to get into character before you go play your part as an actor. You have access to the right data elements, details in person. The character is from late 14th century, also from early 14th century. Access is as a verb is gain access to, be able to use. There's that use again. Usufruct. 1962, originally in computing from access. Related, accessed, accessing. So again, computing is where they have an input, and AI will never be self-dependent. It depends from its creation on human input. That's the access. That's the one be able to use. It has to have some kind of input. Non-access is lack of access, non plus access, especially in law. Impossibility of access for sexual intercourse, as when a husband is out of the country in military service and pollutes everything. Discharges semen without having sex, or at sea longer than the time of gestation of a child. When a husband could not, in the course of nature, by reason of his absence, have been the father of his wife's child, the child is a bastard. Okay, so there's our little etymology. And I want to remind people, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody who wants to share some love. Always appreciate it. Every little bit counts. And then the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. The next one is the topic of what we're going over tonight. Justice and Commerce Departments announce creation of Disruptive Technology Strike Force. This is Thursday, 16th, 2023, just over a year ago. It says joint venture in more than 10 cities will enforce U.S. laws protecting U.S. advanced technologies from illegal acquisition and use by non-state or by nation-state advisories. By nation-state advisories, or adversaries, excuse me. It is an adversarial system, and the states are nation-states that operate under their own sovereignty that was ceded to the United States, and therefore they're courts of the United States, and they're operating adversarially to the United States by creating debts through you without your knowledge against the United States. Today, the Department of Justice and the Department of Commerce are launching the Disruptive Technology Strike Force. Under the leadership of the Justice Department's National Security Division and the Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security. The strike force will bring together experts throughout the government, including the FBI, Homeland Security Investigations, and 14 U.S. Attorney's offices in 12 metropolitan regions across the country to target illicit actors. That's spell of illness. I-C-it. I-C-it. Open your eyes wide and learn how to read. Strengthen supply chains relative to the chain of title. And protect critical technological assets from being acquired or used by nation-state adversaries. Today, autocrats seek tactical advantage. That's a military term through the acquisition, federal acquisition regulations, contract terms and conditions required, use and abuse of America's most innovative technology, that's innovation, and that's the problem. That declaration when you were born, the novation wasn't proper. They use it to enhance their military capabilities. where you put the leaders cap on them as if though they're the leaders. You're the leaders of the nation, people. Support mass surveillance programs that enable human rights abuses and altogether undermine our values. Human rights abuses. That's at 18 U.S.C. 1589. Forced labor in their military acquisitions, wherein they use or abuse a law or legal process, which means use or threaten to use a law or legal process, which means abuse or threaten to abuse a law or legal process, and vice versa. They mean the same thing, coincidentally. We've gone over that. And altogether undermine our values. Our values, said Deputy Attorney General Lisa O. Monaco. Using real-time intelligence and 21st century data analytics, the data elements got to be analyzed. I suggest you analyze the data elements before you give them access. The Disruptive Technology Strike Force will bring together the Justice and Commerce Department's expertise to strike back against adversaries trying to siphon off our most advanced technology and to attack tomorrow's national security threats today. The Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security remains steadfast in our coordination with our federal partners. Remember, we recently discussed partner. At the Department of Justice and vigilant in our enforcement of our export controls. Pay attention, because they are not talking about import controls. The only thing they can control is that which is theirs, and in this fictional system where we have a reality that is adverse to it, they only have import or export controls of what they can put out. Said U.S. Deputy Secretary of Commerce Don Graves. This interagency strike force will further strengthen this shared national security priority. And again, when it comes to the protection of American interests and internationally protected persons, that is the priority in the documentation that makes that documentation requirement for the record to be accurate. The record must reflect accurately, because there is something as a greater truth that is priority. Priory. P-R-I-O-R-I. Priory, which means that which came before. Just like nunc pro tunc and ab initio. Illegally exporting sensitive technology is not an abstract economic concern. It is a crime with a direct impact on the safety of the American people and their persons, said FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate. Funny, the Abate. Funny. To be clear, adversaries are directly threatening our national security. These crimes have the potential to destabilize American economic security, negatively impact American businesses, and affect employment. The FBI looks forward to amplifying our collective capability to combat the threat through this strike force. A partnership that will serve as a force multiplier to the work involving each participating agency. The strike force will be co-led by Assistant Attorney General Matthew G. Olson of the Justice Department's National Security Division and Assistant Secretary for Export Enforcement, again, not import, Matthew Axelrod of the Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security. Remember, that's a bureau. That's where one of those things that they use to keep track of statistical elements. When acquired by nation-state adversaries, such as the People's Republic of China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea, I urge you to rethink. Each state itself is a nation-state of its own that ceded its jurisdiction to the United States. And they're the ones making the claim against the United States as a debt, an obligation of debt through you, because you don't have the informed use of credit. Again, you've got a credit score, but no debt score. Why? Because that's not your score to have. So if you're the one that's supposed to have the credit score, then are you not the creditor? The United States is the debtor. Make sure the books balance by making sure that you don't allow a public liability to be placed on the record as the insured just simply due to continuous and repeated exposure of the same conditions. And we'll go over that when we're done here. That's relative to the insurance, and that as the definition of accident. Technologies can be used in new or novel ways. That's the new or novel way is innovation. To enhance their military capabilities or support mass surveillance programs that enable human rights abuses. End users of national security concern seek technologies, including those related to supercomputing and exascale computing, artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, equipment and materials, quantum computing, and biosciences. Health and Human Services, Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare qualified government employment, employed in the experiment. And despite all your rage, you're still just a rat in the cage. Although they have important commercial uses, technologies in these fields can threaten U.S. national security when used by adversaries for disruptive purposes. And like I said, the states are actually nation states, and they are acting adversarially, so it doesn't have to be for disruptive purposes, but it has a disruptive effect. So if it's not for disruptive purposes, but it's having a disruptive effect, it would call attention to the fact that something should be done about it to help prevent corruption. Such as improving calculations in weapons design and testing, improving the speed and accuracy of military or intelligence decision making. Remember 5 CFR 575.102. In those definitions, we ran over a definition of competencies. And that is the knowledge that you have. You have to have intelligent knowledge to be able to make good, intelligent decision making, not just doing your job. And breaking or developing unbreakable encryption algorithms that protect sensitive communications and classified information. Sensitive communications, and in their realm, communications is the conveyance of a debt. Again, we looked that one up before as well. And classified information. This is where you're classified like male, female, human, all those classifications, those based on biosciences through the medical information. And there's variances for categorical pre-treatment standards that are fundamentally different in nature. The Disruptive Technology Strike Force takes aim at those who imperil our national security and the rule of law. Not law, but the rule of law, by illegally transferring sensitive technologies to foreign adversaries. That sensitive technologies is your own intellectual thoughts. It's information data elements that are used in their computing systems. And it's a sensitive technology data element. Detail. Detail, when you're put on detail in a military form. Said Assistant Attorney General Matthew G. Olson, we must remain vigilant in enforcing export control laws. Again, not import. Which defend military readiness. Which defend military readiness. Defend. The ability to fend in military readiness, and they're going to defend it, meaning take away the ability to fend. Preserve our technological superiority over our adversaries, and to help protect human rights and democratic values. I want to talk about this democratic values real quick, because in a democratic system, you have a voting power of 1%. A voting power of 1% will tip the scales. You got 51% versus 49%. There's a 2% difference, but if 1% is tipped and it becomes 50-50, you're at an impasse. That's why they came up with the quorum thing. Think about this. Let's go back to it. Advances in technology have the potential to alter the world's balance of power. That democratic values is keeping that balance very tight, and that is the worst place to be. If you take a look, say you got a cylinder about yay big around, and you got a board about 2 foot long on top of it, and you're going to stand on that board and try to keep your balance. When your feet are tight, it's hard to keep a balance because you've got a narrow base. Whereas if you widen that base out, you now have a more stable stance. You stabilize. Said Assistant Secretary for Export Enforcement, Matthew S. Axelrod. Again, we're talking about export enforcement. The strike force is designed to protect U.S. national security. So you suppose that could be said that it's also meant or designed to protect the security of U.S. nationals as they are protected persons internationally by preventing those sensitive technologies from being used for malign purposes, taking advantage of the benefactor that doesn't know any better because nobody's taught him, and thereby instead of allowing him to receive the gift, you swap positions with him so you receive the gift. It's called privateering. The strike force's work will focus on investigating. Again, that enumeration at birth is the beginning of an investigation. And prosecuting. The federal courts act in pro per, state courts in rem, and the prosecutor is cutting you from your standing at pro se, improper character. Criminal violations of export laws. Again, they're exports. They're calling you an exporter by saying you have products and stuff that you're putting out in exchange to make a profit of some sort. Enhancing administrative enforcement of U.S. export controls and not the judicial. Fostering partnerships. What happens when you foster? That's an adoption, an adaptation. Fostering partnerships with the private sector. You're supposed to foster a partnership. Same words, so they adopted the legal fiction into the record for your benefit. So you adopt their legal fiction, the United States, as are the ones that confer the nationality, and you accept the gift of the nationality on conditions that these things are met, and you place your conditions that it is recognized or understood, recognized that the United States citizenship is a vessel of the United States that you are allowed to use according to the laws of the United States. It is a security in which they are obligated on the interest of that very responsibility. Leveraging. What's leveraging? That's a levy. That's the tax. International partnerships to coordinate, bringing two laws into one. The scriptures with that Constitution. That's their indenture. They're taking an oath to that Constitution. And you're going to coordinate, Jeremiah 1:5, sanctified and ordained a prophet unto the nation. So you have to give them a gift. What's the gift? The credit. It's the relief of debt. It's called a private relief law. You relieve the United States of their debt and issue credit or extend credit in like exchange. Law enforcement actions and disruption strategies. That's what they do. That's their specialty. Law enforcement actions and disruption strategies. They find a gang in their town, they want to disrupt it. They have to use tactical strategies, military strategies to disrupt it. They're doing the same thing with the advanced technologies, utilizing advanced data analytics on those data elements. They're analyzing those data elements only have access to those data elements because you gave them. and all source intelligence. You are the source of their intelligence. Again, you are the source of the intelligence of AI. If you're the source, what are they going to do about it? Accept it. They have to. It's patent and observably factual and true. To develop, that means you're in a stage of development. There was an establishment of the legal foundation, and it was set in a stage of development. And build investigations. Conducting regular trainings for field offices, again, a military term, field offices, area offices, territorial area. And strengthening connectivity between the strike force and the intelligence community. The intelligence community only gets its intelligence from the intellectuals. Quit acting like bitch-ass slaves. In addition to the National Security Division and the Bureau of Industry and Security, this strike force will be comprised of officials from designated U.S. attorneys' offices throughout the country, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security's Homeland Security investigations. HSI remains committed to our interagency partners and will continue to work tirelessly on behalf of the American people to ensure, again, not insure, but ensure sensitive technologies and proprietary information do not fall in the hands of our adversaries. Again, it's the Department of Homeland Security that has the TRIP program. That's that identification being misidentified. So you're redressed Homeland Security for a new address. You will now be addressed not as a common carrier of the information, but a diplomatic pass-through. And you will pass through, going out and coming in as the Lord preserves that from this time forth and forevermore. That's your passport. Rite of passage and rite of portage. The strike force will operate in 12 metropolitan regions across the United States, with oversight and support from the local U.S. attorney's offices in Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New York City, both the southern and eastern districts of New York, San Jose, California, Phoenix, Portland, Oregon, and the Washington, D.C. region, District of Columbia, and the Eastern District of Virginia. So let's take a look at that 49 U.S. Code accident means continuous and repeated exposure. See where that brings us. There we go. 49 CFR transportation. And remember, commerce means transportation, traffic, or trade. Federal motor carrier, you're a common carrier. Safety administration, it's administrative courts, Department of Transportation, administrative courts of commerce, traffic, transportation, or trade. Safety regulations, motor carrier safety regulations, minimum levels of financial responsibility for motor carriers. That's that insurance. And it says, for the definition of accident, includes continuous or repeated exposure to the same conditions resulting from when they consult. The results are an insult. You are the one they are consulting with, and the results are an insult. Place the proper value, resulting in public liability, which the insured neither expected nor intended. Public liability under the same one means liability for bodily injury or property damage, and includes liability for environmental restoration. Pretty simple, folks. The data elements you're giving them that they now have access, and that's that spell of illness. It was an attack of fever, according to the definitions laid down as a presumption that you were born in a spell of illness, and your mom didn't give natural birth. She gave a birth in a spell of illness, and that was an onslaught, an attack, an onset, wherein one thing was set in one position and there was a disposition by mom herself. And it's for the lack of having a proper father and the proper instructions. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And it goes God to the head of the house. It's the father, the man, then the wife, and then the children. And if the man's missing out and doesn't share that knowledge, goodness gracious, mom doesn't have it, and she bears children, bastards, and she is looked as a harlot. Keep paying attention to that natural patronymical thing and not clarifying its status in that same order of houses. Put your houses in order. And with that, let me see here. I want to thank everybody for your support. We've got Daddy's watching you, BMFS, bitch ass motherfuckers. Great to see you. We got Jeep Girl, multi-dimensional meta magician. Verily, greetings. Look within. Good to have everybody here. Special K. And remember, folks, all glory goes to him. And if you care to share some love, please hit that PayPal link down below. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe. And know that I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's to say, I don't care if you hate me. That's on you. So may God bless you, and have a good night. We'll see everybody again tomorrow night.